What's up, guys? Got another deck list here for you today. I've been rummaging around a bit, thinking of some ideas, and this is kind of a deck that's kind of taken some life. Just putting some games on Hero Buu a little bit lately, and then also taking some of the experience that I took from the last unorganized play event that we did on Octagon here. Now, I did play against David Goldsmith. He was playing Resolute Vegito, and I thought taking a similar list to what he was using, it was a mix of Unleashed and Life Card Beats and Anger in blue. And I figured Boo could do it. Now, of course, this list is pretty rough. I already kind of have my own issues with it, which I'll touch on with the card choices in a moment. But for the most part, it's pretty straightforward. You know, you're running an Unleash package, and then you're running some of the blue anger cards. Unfortunately, there are all these life card energy attacks that really don't do anything other than anger. So having stages is going to be pretty huge. Now, Boo, assuming you can keep an ally out, you could redirect some stage damage to your ally. Not to mention there are some stage gain effects and some anger gaining effects. So, you know, as far as this versus like Vegito's got more raw draw power. Not to mention this probably runs more dead cards than Vegito would run. Like I said, there's some good and bad about this deck. You know, granted you can thin out the deck quite a bit with your level 1 and your boost company, you know, are able to tutor out most of your dead cards there. Unleash can tutor them out as well. But I'll go through the choices here, why I picked them, what I would potentially change. Like I said, I'll probably think about this list some more. I kind of just threw this list together real quick, and I'll kind of go through why I picked it. But yeah, we'll go through the picks, of course. The board is not crazy heavy. It might be a little too much, though. I'm running Absorbing Drill and his 3 named setups. Now, one of Blue's biggest weaknesses is that you have to run Blue Betrayal as your, like, any... It's kind of like your only board hate. I mean, there's other cards in there, but most of them kind of suck. I think Blue Wish could always be a card, maybe, in there, but when you have Boost Candy that you can tutor, I feel like there's no reason not to run it over Betrayal. And with that said, you know, you can always tutor those setups out early game to banish them. But running them, of course, does put 3 more dead cards in your deck, not to mention Candy can be dead in certain matchups. So, you know, that's kind of a bullet I will take with this one. I think it's just better off than running Betrayal. By not running Betrayal, that's one less incentive to run Blue Decapitation. If you were trying to run a build more based off of like Head Knock and like Blue Slide and Slash, you know, I'd probably want to just run Betrayal over it with Decap. But I'm choosing not to run those cards, so we'll see how it goes. I think this is the better choice, but then running to at least Betrayal, but you never know. And then of course I have 1 Tree of Might. It's a cool combo, of course. You can always tutor out the Absorbing Drill with it if you get it attached. Having a little extra stage damage is never bad. But this is probably like the least, out of these 5 cards here, this is like the least useful. So then we get on to final 2 setups I run, being 2 copies of Rebuke, because it's attached card that's so good. Most decks are trying to level. Need I say more? Free tutor card to your hand. And then we'll also have Blue Stylish Pose, because there's going to be plenty of opportunities and times where your allies are going to end up in your discard pile that you're going to want them back, or your banish zone. So always going to be a pretty decent card. I mean, worst case scenario, you can just throw it on the board, but this card is at least not dead if it's in your hand, whereas most of these other cards are. So that puts us, I think, at what, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dead cards in the setup department on top of the B ally and the Hercule ally. So 9 cards that are essentially dead if you draw them. Now, granted, right off the bat, like I said, you can start off by tutoring, you know, the Candy, Cookie, and Chocolatier and banishing them. Not to mention, you know, Tree Might can get tutored by Unleashed, same with the Rebukes. So, not the worst thing in the world. Every dead card here can be tutored in some way, except for Stylish Pose, which isn't dead. And then, of course, the 2 allies can be tutored by Company and Stylish Pose. So, biggest thing is maybe those first 2 turns you have a high chance of drawing a dead card, which, again, would maybe be a reason why you don't want to run the Candy Beam and the assorting, you know, Falling package. It's just something to consider. There's if you wanted to really free up on dead slots, that would be something I would do. But otherwise, yeah, I'm going to give it a shot. If I end up not liking it, I would probably switch to Decapitation and Blue Betrayal in their spot, and then maybe shift my build over to more physicals in some of these spots here, which I'll get into. We go into the events. I have Time is a Warrior's Tool, Unleashed, On the Move, and Knee Clash. I opted to run these cards. I don't necessarily like how many freestyle cards I have, but I like both these cards. Just bring so much utility. You know, they give some card draw, some stage gain with On the Move, which is huge. Not to mention Knee Clash is just really, really good card. Yeah, I mean, these Omnis are just incredibly powerful. Then we get into, of course, Boost Company and Blue Fear. And a Boost Company, of course, you're pretty much always going to run at least 2 to 3. You're going to run probably always 2 to 3 copies of this card. I'm just going for 2. Again, I do have Stylish Pose if I do see it. You know, I think 2 is plenty. The biggest thing is if they get taken off, but you can at least 2 to these early game. So, and we go to Blue Fear. Now this card, of course, gives you some anger if it's pitched. If I do draw like a brick hand, I can always use Blue Fear to discard a card to draw another card, which is nice, on top of getting a crit. Really, you're just going to be throwing this card to the Mastery. There's a few cards in here that are really, really nice with throwing to the Mastery. And again, the problem with the high freestyle count is that I can't have a lot of these cards I won't be able to pitch to Mastery, but you know, they're all just so strong that I'm probably never going to really want to pitch most of these events. But yeah, they all serve a really good purpose. You know, if I really was to fear non-styled hate, maybe I would change these up a bit, but I think these are just so superior to almost every, like these freestyle blocks are just so superior to like every block in the game, so it's hard to not run them. So yeah, one of my problems I already have on the list is that the block line is these cards that aren't attacks are just so thick in the deck. A large portion of the deck, I think more than half of the deck, is not attacks. And of course, I still have a few style blocks I ran. I opted to run Narrow Escape for the endurance and help me recurse some cards. At worst, I pitched to Mastery. Blue Guard is just Mastery fodder. Deterrence is there because I just wanted a few more physical blocks, and it's got endurance. So ultimately, my biggest gripes right now, if you look at this this portion of the list, is going to be. I think I'll just move my little thing. Oops. Okay, I was already over on the side here. My biggest gripe is that a lot of these cards you can't pitch, and then these ones, you know, they take up a lot of space. You know, and so like I said, you know, purely like getting rid of Candy Beam alone would free me up 3 more slots that I could put towards text. I could always end up cutting these blocks out. If I was going to cut anything out, I'd cut the Narrow Escape out. Probably for another attack. It would just be something to consider. I'm going to give it a shot. Again, Buu having B-Ally helps me make up for maybe the lack of like attacks I could potentially draw. You know, because B-Ally, if I get Hercule, gives me just a bunch of extra actions, a little more anger control, and potential angers. So again, it kind of, like, you're looking for your advantage in a different way. But we'll see, like I said, with testing. And then I go into the attack line. The attack line's really weird. It's a mix of, like, anger. It's a lot of energies, mostly energies. I didn't really... It could be the wrong play, you know, honestly, the wrong call. I think maybe running the Blue Slash... You know, maybe decap combination might be just better, ultimately. Maybe just going physical heavy is better, but I wanted to just try it out a bit with some of these cards. So we'll get into the choices. Like I said, I run Candy Beam at 3. I run Concentrated Blast with anger. Just between that and your levels, giving you natural anger. It's just another potential way to maybe cheese a level. Static Blast at 3 because, you know, you get a handful of attacks. Just coming in big. Static Blast is great anti-anger. Neck Me, of course, another anti-level card, you know, versus anti-anger. You pitch it for stages, which is really great. That's what I really liked about it. Left Blast is another one of those anger cards. In a pinch, if you really need it to be, it could be an anti-anger card, but this also just gives you some card draw, which is really nice. You know, you do have to see damage prevention go, but if anybody uses endurance or you use mastery, you know, you pop the effect off, which is really nice. It's the free draw. Smug Punch for attaching. Only really needed it too because I have Tree of Might and I have Boost Company and Rebuke already. We go Head Knock at 3 and Slide at 3. I like both these cards. They both can come in for some pretty respectable damage. Head Knock being, of course, great anger tech as well, but Slide is Slide's just a really cool card. A little little bit of everything you kind of want, like life card damage, uh, pile hate's nice, and of course the hit is really good. 2 rejection and 3 blanketing blast. I like rejection. I always have. It's just such a hard card to run nowadays. It's really good in an energy heavy deck like what I have, so that's why I opted to run it. I was gonna run it at 3. I ended up cutting it down to 2 to try to fit some of the more blocks in. This is another card that I really like it. My only gripe with it is that it doesn't really further my game plan other than just do damage. It's got weak anti-anger relative to how fast anger decks are these days. But again, this potentially can pay for multiple attacks for me because it hits gains before my next attack is free. So it guarantees me, if I can lead it in combat, it guarantees me an extra attack, which is always good. And of course, a couple of these attacks cost 3 stages, like the left blast and the blanketed blast. And of course, blanketed blast sets up the mastery, so that's why I wanted it. But the attacks are all neat. Like I said, most people just end up running blue and they just go decapitation, blue slash, blue head knock, maybe blue slide, betrayal, and that's the package. I wanted to do something a bit different, and like I said, I like the anger cards for what they are. Will this level consistently? No. Can it happen? Yeah. It's just a little extra kind of fuel there, and I think it's worth giving a shot. Like I said, I played against David Goldsmith's Vegito, and he was running a lot of these kind of anger energy cards that really kind of surprised me a little bit. So I think there's something there. Maybe they can help give me a little extra juice to level. We'll see. It's better playing the deck. Like I said, fair amount of cards that aren't attacks. So that would be maybe something to consider, is dropping them down in number, but I'd have to test it. Like I said, a couple of cards that I would look to cut first would be the Rejections, the Narrowscape, and the Candy Beam, and the 3 setups. Those would be some of the cards that I would look at cutting first, and maybe opting to run just more attacks. Like Sinister Choke would be cool. Blue Slash, maybe a Decapitation if I ran enough attacks, but just something to consider. I want to do something a little bit different than the usual decap. Maybe there's some merit to this, choice in this path in deck building, but it's just a matter of playing it. But hopefully you guys are still getting out there building some decks. I'm going to keep trying to release a deck or two, every week if I can, when I get some time here. I might space them out a little bit more than that, but it's just the idea is just keeping stuff rolling. So, but anyway, guys, take it easy. Peace.